What's up, everybody? This is Quet, and I'm back again with another Codewars Kata in today's video. Um, Continuing doing Ruby, I've been on this Ruby project at my job for it's got to be a month and a half now. So I'm still playing around with it and doing some practice katas here and there. Today's kata is called Find the Divisors, and essentially what I'll be doing is taking a method. That method will be taking in a number, and I will be returning an array that lists all of the numbers that number is divisible by, unless it is a prime number, in which it's only divisible by 1 in itself. If that's the case, I'll be returning the number is prime. You can see in the example right here that 13 would return 13 is prime, and if we have a number like 12, 12 is divisible by 2, 3, 4, and 6. So before we go any further, I also want to mention that today's video is a little different than any of the other videos that I've done. I'm actually recording this on an iPad Pro that I recently purchased. I bought this iPad kind of as a replacement for my MacBook that's getting a little older. It's a little less reliable, moving noticeably slower, things of that nature. And it was either buy a MacBook Pro or buy an iPad Pro. And the MacBook Pro is a lot cheaper, and it also I want a new iPad, so I figured, you know what, this is kind of giving me the best of both worlds and kind of giving me more flexibility and portability and things of that nature. So right now I have my iPad Pro, I have my Magic Keyboard, I have my Blue Yeti microphone hooked up to it. Everything seems to be going great so far. So I do plan on doing more videos recording from my iPad, and maybe I'll do a video just talking about the process of using an iPad to replace my MacBook pretty often. And I don't know, just let me know what you think about that idea in the comments below. While you're at it, go ahead and get this video a like and let me know what you just think about this video overall. So yeah, let's get back into the code. So like I said, divisors, we're gonna find out what numbers, we're gonna take a number and find out what it's divisible by. So let's pseudocode this out first. So we're gonna take in a number. We'll call that number n and create. So I normally do a for loop coming from my JavaScript background, but I've noticed in Ruby I write a lot of while loops. So I'm gonna put we're gonna do a while loop that stops when I is less than, when I is greater than n or n. Okay, the point is what I'm looking to do here is I want a variable called I, very similar to, you know, writing a Java. Well, most loops kind of have I that I write. I use I as my incrementing number. So anyways, when I is let's see, greater than or equal to n. Basically, when it's equal to n, we want it to stop. I think that kind of covers it. And if n is I use modulus I, and let's say I does not equal 1 or n, push I into the array. So yeah, and my other idea here, so it's two things, two kind of basic steps, is taking a number, create a while loop with I that increments every time the loop runs, and then when it gets to the value of n, the loop breaks and we hop out of it. And then also, if at any point I n is modulus I, which just means that when you divide n by I, you return 0. And if that number is not 1 or it is not n, then we push I into the array. So I think a good way to start this is by defining I, and I'm actually going to get at a value of 2. So instead of starting at 0 or starting at 1, I know nothing is divisible by 0, and I know that we don't want to include 1 in our array. So that just eliminates the chance that even happens, or having to write additional code around that to make sure it doesn't get added writing a rule that says, hey, if I equals 1, don't push it. We just start at 2. And then I'm gonna create an array here called divisors, and this will be the array that we push our divisors numbers that n is divisible by into. So we'll have a while loop, and then while I is less than n, which I mentioned on line 3, we're gonna do something. And so if n is divisible by I modulus I, let's say if that equals 0, then we're gonna take divisors and we're going to push I into it. And then we'll end this line here. We're gonna take I and increment it by 1. Honestly, so in JavaScript, I normally would write this like I++. I don't know, it just looks neat, it makes sense to me. In my time writing Python, I believe that it had to be written with the plus equals, or maybe that's just how my team would do it. And so I think that just makes total sense to do it this way in Ruby, even though I don't do it that way, and I still do the I++ in JavaScript. But I'm gonna use the plus equal because I don't know if I++ is a thing in Ruby. And I think we're good to go here. Yeah, I think we're good to go here, and we'll go ahead and write an end statement for our while loop. Okay, so let me go through this loop here. So as long as I is less than n, we're gonna do something. I is going to be 2 is gonna start at 2, and then whatever n is, we're gonna divide n by I. If that is 0, we're gonna push it into the array, and then we're gonna increment I by 1. If it does not equal 0, then we're not gonna push it, and we're just gonna increment I by 1, and we're gonna continue the loop until I is equal to n. Once that's done, that pretty much just puts everything into the array, and then we could just kind of do our return statement. We could just at this point put divisors and yeah, just have our, what is this ending? Sorry, I put divisors in the wrong place and got a bit confused. But I could put divisors here and call it a day. But since we also have that matter of returning a string if it is a prime number, we have another step that we need to go into. So we want to write another conditional statement, and we're going to do this right outside of the while statement. And what we're going to do here is we're going to write an if statement, and I think if divisors.length is a good method to use here. If we go through this while loop through everything, let's say I is 13, so we're going to start at 2. 13 isn't divisible by 2. We're going to increment it. 13 isn't divisible by 3. We're going to increment it. It's not divisible by 4. So on and so on. Once I becomes 13, it just breaks and it's going to come straight here. Divisors is not going to have anything inside of it. Divisors is just going to be an empty array still, because 13 isn't divisible by any numbers between 2 and 12, and which is where the loop runs. So since divisors is going to be 0, we can just go ahead and say divisors push, and we're going to push a string, and we're going to use string interpolation here. So we're going to put n is prime, right? Yep, it's prime, no period, anything. Okay, great. So what this does exactly is this now gives index 0 of divisors this string. This pound with the bracket and then n inside of it is getting the variable whatever the value of n is and placing it within the string. So with the 13 example, it's going to say 13 is prime. You can see that n is white while the rest of the code is green. Inside of this editor, green is for strings, and then n is a variable, so that variable is white. And so we're good there, and we want to take this a step further and put a return statement, and I'll go over that in just a second. We're going to put divisors dot join. We're going to go right there, comma, and then end statement. It's kind of annoying that it doesn't auto format. And then we have divisors. All right, cool. So this is just going to return, if we return divisors at this point on line 17, we would actually get whatever, let's say 13. 13 is prime inside of an array. And we don't want it inside of the array, we just want the string. So by using the join method, where we're just going to get the string value here. And is that end statement in the right place? My code is formatted like off just a little bit. It bothers me. There we go. So okay, so I put a return statement here, and you may have noticed that on line 19 I didn't put a return statement for divisors. So in Ruby there's an implicit return, which essentially means whatever the last line is within a code block is going to be returned. So if I just put a string here instead of divisors, if I put like during this Kata was fun and call it a day, whenever this code is run, it's gonna outside of when it's a prime number, it's just gonna return during this Kata is fun. No matter what, implicitly it just knows that last line is what needs to be returned. And that's why I put divisors here without a return statement. I don't want to put it inside of the while loop because it'll never reach this conditional statement. It'll never reach the conditional statement, and that's going to be a problem. And then here we're going to put the return because soon as this code is ran, we don't need to get to this implicit return. That would just pretty much override what we have right here. And so we have our return statement here, and if the code passes the while loop, if this if statement, if the length of divisors is more than 0, then we're just gonna have this implicit return. And that should work. Let's go ahead and run a test. Okay, first 3 tests passed. We're gonna attempt it, and there we go. We're good to go. So yep, that was this Codewars Kata. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully the way that I did it made sense to you. Maybe it taught you something new about Ruby and just ways of thinking with Ruby. Ruby is a pretty fun language so far. It's kind of like a million ways to do things, which is kind of weird for me. In JavaScript, you do have multiple ways to do things, but it's reined in a little more, I would say. And then with Python, it's pretty strict, and it's like, this is the way to do things. There's no other way. And then Ruby is just like, do it however you want and have at it. Which can be kind of weird when it comes to like code reviews and things of that nature. But anyways, I'm enjoying the language. Hopefully you're enjoying these videos. As I stated, this is the first one that I've done on my iPad. I'll likely be doing more videos on it. Hopefully the quality and everything turns out great. Again, let me know what you think about the idea of doing a video just kind of going over my setup on the iPad and how I'm using it to replace a MacBook for most cases. And drop a like, and I'll catch you in the next video.